Should you summon for Zhongli? Short answer, yes. If you're still not convinced by that answer, keep watching cause it might change your mind. Zhongli is the most broken character in the game, thus far, in my opinion. Disclaimer, to help me elaborate how broken he is, let me divide this video in sections and for easier understanding, especially for newer players. So in this video, let's talk about the general state of the game, Zhongli's skill set, and what made Zhongli OP. So what is the general state of the game? As of update 1.5, there's not much features or let's say major gimmicks since launch. Sure, there's Dragon Spine, which features the Frostbite feature, which deals damage to HP when it reaches a certain threshold, and the most notable feature in terms of combat is resistances and shields. And you know exactly what I'm talking about when you encounter Fatuis. You see, not every enemy is equal. Some of them have elemental resistances such as slimes and whopper flowers, which are really super annoying, and some have physical resistances like the Ruin Guards, Ruin Hunter, and the Ruin Greater. And the common one is elemental shields. You see those bars underneath the health bar where you deal garbage damage if the shield is up, not unless you break it, and even more garbage damage when you're using the same type of element on that shield, which can also be easily broken by the way if using the correct element. Electro Shield is weak to cryo attacks, Cryo Shield is weak to pyro attacks, Pyro Shield is weak to Hydro attack, and the Hydro Shield, I honestly have no clue, I just mainly use cryo because it's just that tanky, and the Geo Shield for some reason is weak to Geo or Claymore. Mainly, these are the gimmick in Genshin Impact, it's like Pokemon. And then also there's the Knockback and CC, which is really common in elemental reactions and Ruin Guards. Overload, which knocks you up, that Anemo Druid that pulls you towards that tornado thingy, Hydro and Cryo attack will get you into a frozen state, and when you get hit by a really strong attack, just hope that you only get hit once. I'm talking about when you get knocked up by the Ruin Guard spinning attack move, which can pretty much easily kill you in higher floors or when you're stuck in a corner with no stamina. Currently, in terms of characters, there is only two kinds of characters with subcategories, and the first category being the DPS or damage per second, aka your carry, which has two subcategories. Please do note that these are just my opinions and just how I group this thing, and it's also pretty common to group these things in certain communities such as Genshin Impact and other kinds of games. Sustained DPS, meaning they deal consistent damage. Examples of these characters are like Diluc, which hits like a truck and can consistently deal damage, or like Ching, and for free-to-play players, Xiangling and Razor, which doesn't really rely much on their abilities to deal a lot of damage. And the other one is Burst. Obviously, they deal burst damage, a massive amount of damage in such a short period of time. Characters like Child or Zhao, where simply pressing one button can change their damage output tremendously. Simple as that. And the second category are the supports, which in my opinion can be divided into two subcategories, which can be further divided into subcategories. The first support is the defensive supports, which are obviously defensive, and it has two subcategories in this subcategory. And the first one is the healer. Clue is in the name, they heal your team, such as Barbara and Diona. Simple as that. The second one is the shielder characters. Don't at me in the comment section because I make the rules here. I make the naming rules here. The shielder character, which obviously gives shield, such as Xinyan, Beidou, Noel, and this is where I think Zhongli identifies as. And then the second subcategory, which is the offensive supports. Obviously the offensive side of things. And the first one in this subcategory of a subcategory is Enchanters. This is where characters that can enhance the damage output of your team, such as Saint Cho, which his ability can deal hydro damage even when not in the field, and like Mona or Xiangling as a few examples. And then the next one are batteries. What do I mean by that? These are the characters that can technically hasten your energy recharge. If you don't know yet, you recharge your ultimate ability faster every time you defeat an enemy or cause an elemental reaction, such as burn, overcharge, wet, etc. and etc. You know the drill. And characters that excel in this category are anemo characters. Most notably in this specific category, Sucrose and Venti, which arguably the best batteries. You can literally just spam abilities when you have them on your team. And then we have the special category, which is the god tier category with only one character, and it is no other than Bennett. Don't at me. Technically speaking, you can build a character however you want depending on what you need. So they're technically not really limited to one category. And with that out of the way, let's go to Zhongli's skill set. So where does Zhongli enter in this meta? To new players who haven't tried Zhongli yet, here's a quick rundown of his abilities. He is a polearm user with the JU element. His E or skill creates a pillar where you can climb that does damage to every now and then in a small area around it. Holding this ability will grant you a special shield that is only made by Zhongli. His Q or elemental burst pulls down a meteor dealing massive geo damage in an area and petrifying enemies struck. He is also known as the Geo Daddy in the community. Boy, oh boy. Generally, Archons in this game, which are the quote-unquote gods in this game, are generally really versatile. So in a way, they are strong in their own, such as Venti, which has the strongest crowd control in the game, in my opinion, which gathers all the mobs into one area and you can apply an element on it since he is an anemo character. Zhongli, on the other hand, was faced by a massive backlash because of how underwhelming he was at first release, where his shield was too weak to be classified as a shielder because it only really resists the Geo element. His damage is also low compared to others, so he doesn't really fit well in the DPS category. His pillar that gives only minuscule amount of energy doesn't really classify him as a battery either. Not only that, you can't use his pillar and shield at the same time. Holding the ability gives you a shield but no pillar, and tapping the ability gives you a pillar but no shield. At his launch, he didn't really live up to the hype. Personally, at the time of his release, I didn't really want him. I just accidentally got him trying to build my PT for Xiao. Just like how I accidentally shamelessly plug my Twitch channel here, twitch.tv/adnot. Anyways, where Zhongli excels though is his HP and his ult, which deals geo damage plus an additional damage based on how much HP he has. And his elemental burst that can actually petrify enemies for a short duration, meaning enemies can be stunned, which is a first of its kind. Something like a frozen state, which was really strong, leading people to build Noblesse Oblige in him, which was the go-to support burst build at the time, which if you don't know, the 4-set bonus basically just gives 20% attack bonus to all party members for 12 seconds after elemental burst is cast. He is also great at mining. Now you see, he doesn't really deal much damage and doesn't really fit to a support role. That's where the community was up against MiHoYo. Like, please buff Zhongli, this game is pay to win, and I don't blame them. Zhongli's talents are god tier. For example, a Constellation 6 Zhongli can heal you when damaged while the shield is up. It was a colossal disaster and everyone felt cheated because of the high expectation of Zhongli, which was supposedly going to be labeled at the time by the community was the worst 5-star release. But with the community's voice, MiHoYo actually listened. In the following update, version 1.3, they buffed Zhongli with so many stuff that basically made him OP. So what made Zhongli OP? This was the update changes of version 1.3. Basically, in a nutshell, all of Zhongli's kit revolved around his HP, making everything he do scale with HP. His elemental burst not only deals massive damage, but now deals massive damage that scales based on how much additional HP he has. I'm not gonna bore you and put numbers on the screen, I'm too lazy to do the math, but I'll leave a link in the description so you can check it out yourself. But basically everything scales with HP. Elemental burst deal more damage the more HP stats Zhongli have. The pillar deals more damage based on HP and has more HP based on Zhongli's HP. That was a lot of HP, but you get the point. And now holding it gives you both the shield and the pillar. Even his basic attack scales based on how much HP Zhongli has. And perhaps the most OP change he had was his buff to his shield. Previously it scaled with his HP, but it only resists geo damage. But now it is completely changed to 150% of it is elemental resistance and 150% of it is physical damage absorption. And mind you, this stacks with just the regular elemental shield that you can pick up when triggered by a geo elemental reaction. This buff alone made Zhongli a god tier support, which makes him a no-brainer to pick on any team composition. One of the most important aspects of having a shield is to prevent getting CC'd or knockback, excluding the frozen state of course. You can easily get CC'd or locked to death, especially when doing harder contents of the game, such as the higher floors of the Abyss, where it has 2 ruin guards where they spin and cause some big damage, as you can easily get cornered and trapped and get stunned to death. Now what's even more interesting, fast forward to the recent update version 1.5, they added a new domain with new artifacts. More specifically, the Tenacity of Millet, where a 2-piece set bonus can boost your HP by 20, and the Retracing Bolide 2-piece 2-piece artifact for a 35% boost to shield, and you get yourself a pretty OP Zhongli. I leave the rest of the imagination for you, but it is pretty freaking nuts. So in conclusion, should use someone for Zhongli? Yes, I think he is just broken beyond belief. It is almost no-brainer to use Zhongli in any team composition, especially with the shield changes. By simply activating the shield, it can help you sustain more hits and take more damage, leaving you more room for errors. Not only that, it can also inadvertently boost your DPS because you do not need to worry about recovering your health when the barrier is up, and it also protects you from knockback to have more damage uptime. The Petrify and Battery are just bonuses. The shield alone is that good, and that is why Zhongli is OP, and I rate him as 2 pillars out of 1. If you have other opinion, feel free to argue with me down in the comment section. I'm open to debates and other views. You know, that's why there's a Genshin community. We help each other most of the time. But hey, if you enjoy the content and find it helpful, leave a like and a sub. It's free, it helps me out make more of this kind of content, and you can always change your mind. Thanks for watching.